What's up, guys? It's D Brown with Headz, and today I'm gonna be talking to you guys about why aren't you healing from injuries. Okay, I think the biggest thing dealing with track and field or any particular sport are the ups and downs of injuries, and the most common injury that I've seen in terms of just athletes having a hard time really recovering from is the hamstring. So usually, these are hamstring strains, whether they're level 1, level 2, or level 3. There's a big difference between each one. Level 3 being a complete detachment from like the bone, that like your sitting bone from the hamstring. Level 1 and level 2 are things that basically like minor tears when the hamstring is really being stretched when you're sprinting and running. And these are like the biggest things to really heal. They don't heal as quickly as some would hope. Usually they happen in the middle of the season, or really when you're trying to gear things up for the faster portions of the season. And for some reason they just snap and they tear and they do these things. And people just can't seem to figure out how to get these things healed. And I think I can help out with that. Me as an athlete, I've been running for so many years, and I've had a lot of hamstring problems, a lot of hamstring injuries. And my main issue is that was the first thing is lifestyle. So the first thing being lifestyle. Over here in the United States, we, as a student athlete being in college and being in high school, we sit down for large portions of our time. We sit down for many hours throughout the day. So basically when you sit down, your hamstrings are in a shortened position, right? Even like sitting down right now, you're probably sitting down watching this video. When you feel your hamstrings, they're in a contracted state, okay? And imagine being in that, your hamstrings being in a contracted state for hours upon hours upon hours. You're in school from 8 o'clock to maybe 3 o'clock. Those are a lot of hours, 7 hours, where you're in this seated position, and your hamstrings are short, and then maybe a couple minutes before class you get to walk. And then you have practice. And see, what happens was our bodies are very interesting because they tend to adapt to what we put our bodies through the most. So if your body is used to sitting down, guess what's going to happen? Your hamstrings are going to be in that shortened position. Your body's going to get used to that. So the problem with us is that, we tend not to have as much movement throughout the day to have healthy hamstrings. I mean, think about it. As kids, we have recess and we're always running around, and you never hear about a kid complaining about a hamstring tear, do you? They don't even warm up. They don't go through drills or anything. And it seems like because of lifestyle and because of the older we get, and the way our lifestyle kind of just is set up, where we're sitting down for so many hours throughout the day, it just becomes an issue. So that's the first problem. The first problem is that we have to figure out a way to change our lifestyles so that we are able to have our hamstrings in an elongated position, so that when it's time for us to run, our hamstrings aren't short. Because what happens is when our hamstrings are short and they're not responding to the pushing and pulling through the elastic contractions of running, and they're just used to being short, well, guess what? When it's time to sprint and it's very violent movements, it's going to tear like a rubber band. So I think that's very important. So the first being lifestyle. I think the second thing also has to be diet, okay? So, this doesn't just go for hamstrings. This also goes for any muscle, any part of your body that has to deal with recovery. So the thing with our bodies are, if we don't have the proper nutrients to have our body producing more protein for us when it's time to recover after a hard workout, basically our bodies, it slows down their recovery. Our metabolism starts to slow down. So just a little health lesson, a little science lesson. In order for your body to produce more muscle, you need protein. Your body produces more muscle using protein synthesis. I try not to go too deep, but by using protein synthesis, which is basically, your body taking proteins in your diet and converting that back into your muscles, and that's how you get bigger, stronger. And usually this happens in your sleep. This also happens sometimes during the day, but mostly happens in your sleep, which is why it's very important to get sleep. Now, we'll go a little bit longer on that further on into the video. But in terms of diet, it's very, very important to make sure you have a well-balanced diet. Eating 3 times a day, having a great breakfast, a great lunch, a great dinner, having small healthy snacks in between, because a lot of people don't know. They have a lot of protein shakes thinking that, we're bringing that protein in, but if you don't have the fruits and the vegetables and the amino acids. There are 9 amino acids that are in your body, or that there are 9 amino acids that your body does not produce. Okay, amino acids are the building blocks to protein. So it's not just good enough just to have the protein shakes and thinking just because I'm having that. But if you're not having the extra stuff that's in your diet, for like vegetables and fruits and oats, like I have oatmeal, for example. Oatmeal is a very great source of protein. It's also a good source of grain. It's a good source of. It's just really, really healthy. I have mine with raisins. I have a little bit of brown sugar in there, and I mix everything up for breakfast. And it's a really good thing to have in order to stay healthy, because it gives me the extra nutrients that I need, along with the protein, along with anything anything else that you might need to have a body recover, for your health. So, in terms of diet, you want to make sure that you're having things that are like vitamins and nutrients and minerals, and you want to make sure you're drinking tons and tons and tons of water. Water is the most important thing that you need in order to maintain your health in your body. We're 70% water. So that means when we're not having the proper amount of water that we need, our body is not hydrated. That hydration affects the muscles in a big, big, big way. Okay? Basically, our muscles are rubber bands. If the rubber bands are feeling, you ever touch a rubber band and it's dry and it's really it's dry and it's not like moisturized. It's really dry, gritty. What happens when you try and tear it? It fizzles out. It may even pop with less force than it might need if you were to, hydrate that rubber band. So my point is that you definitely want to make sure that you're hydrated when you're exercising. Okay? That you're hydrated at all times, because if you're not, it's going to slow down your recovery. And you're going to get injured again, and you could probably get injured worse because your muscles aren't in the proper, it's not hydrated. Your body isn't hydrated. Also, when you're warming up, when you're in the state of sprinting, or in the state of running, or in the state of running a long distance, any particular sport or exercise that you do, your body is at an elevated core temperature. That's why you produce sweat. But what happens when you run out of sweat, when you run out of hydration, when you run out of the water in your system? Bad things happen. Heat strokes. Your body overheats. Your body just starts to do these weird things because it needs water. So, that's number 2 in terms of the things of why you're not recovering from your injury. You're not giving yourself adequate diet, adequate hydration, nutrients, and everything like that. All right. So number 3, the third biggest thing is sleep. Sleep. And this is a real big one, because when I was in high school, I didn't really sleep that much. It wasn't because I had homework. It wasn't because I went out to parties. I'm a night owl, so I didn't really care for sleeping. It was just like, I loved the night. I used to just chill and surf the web on my computer. I used to just chill with friends and stuff like that. So, it's very important to get your hours in. All right. I bet if you ask someone who recently got injured, if you ask them what their sleeping habits are like, 9 times out of 10 they're bad. Okay? Sleep is the opportunity for your body to regrow muscles. You're taking the stress from training, you're consuming food, which is which is putting nutrients back into your body, and those nutrients have to be synthesized in your body during sleep. Okay? Just to get a little surface level, we're not going to go too deep with it, but it's very important that when you sleep, you hit REM sleep. REM sleep is basically a deep sleep that you have to be in order for these processes in your body to go on. You grow, most of the time when you grow, you're growing when you're in that REM cycle, when you're in that deep sleep. Okay? Like probably 95% of your growth that happens in your body, fingernails, your muscle growing, your hair growing, is in your sleep. Okay, so imagine if you're not getting the right amount of hours of sleep. Certain body parts start to feel weird. Certain things start to feel more tired. This is the time when your body gets to rest and gets to recover and gets to sleep. Okay, so imagine if you're having a full weekday, right? Monday through Friday. And you're training. Monday you may have 400 meter work. Tuesday you have speed work. Wednesday you have active recovery, which is maybe a pool workout. Thursday you're back to like speed endurance, and then Friday you finish off with some block starts. Well, guess what? Through that whole time, you put so much stress on your body. And if your body doesn't reset, like say for the 400-meter work on Monday, if your body doesn't reset for that next session, which is, speed work, if it doesn't reset for that, you double the amount of stress that your body took off of one thing of sleep. And many people ask, what is the recommended daily dose of sleep? That's hard. Most experts say, 8 hours. What I would say whenever that you can just wake up. I know and the thing is, it's also a lifestyle thing. So a lot of us have jobs, we have school, we have all these responsibilities, and it's very hard to kind of give yourself the time. You may have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to work, but the way your day is set up, if that's the case, in order to get your 8 hours, you have to go to bed at 10. In order to get 9 hours, you have to go to bed at 9. So I tell a lot of people, when trying to manage your sleep, you have to take priority of that. Because, it's a 24-hour world. Everything is available at the tip of our fingers. We can be on the phone. We can be on the computer. We can watch TV. Channels are always on. So it's kind of like a negative thing sometimes because there's so many distractions to keep you up. But your priority should be to get sleep. That's the only thing because if you don't get sleep, your body doesn't process the stress that you put upon it. So if you put more stress on it, your body, it's not going to work. So your body definitely needs to reset after a training session. All right. So sleep is the number three is number 3 on the list of reasons why you're probably not recovering from an injury. And I would have to say the last and final one that I would say, and this is a very special one. This is like if you've had the injury before and it's a reoccurring injury, why does it keep happening? I would have to say it's because you are being reactive and not proactive in the way that you're treating your hamstring injury. What do I mean? If you're in rehab is when you basically rehab is when something happens and then afterwards you take care of it. For example, if I tear an ACL, if I tear my ACL, I go to a rehab specialist to get rehabbed. Okay? But being proactive with the injury means that you're consistently and constantly working on that, especially if it's a reoccurring injury. So for example, I know a lot of sprinters who tear their hamstrings. Well, instead of, you rehab, you get it strong, but then after that point of getting it strong, you do nothing else for it. Your hamstring isn't just automatically always fixed. You always have to do things because that stress, that injury produces scar tissue. And in order to make sure that it's continued to firing and you're not, let's say you're not changing the lifestyle things and your nutrients isn't good, you have to make sure that hamstring stays strong. So for those of you who don't know, the function of a hamstring is to stop the deceleration of your lower limb when in a sprint stride. So for those of you who may know but may not know, that's called an eccentric contraction. So basically, looking at my finger, if this is your hamstring and this is your lower leg, your hamstring stops this movement from happening when you're in your stride. Okay, so you might be running like this, and as soon as your lower limb comes up, it stops it. That's called the eccentric contraction. So what happens is that if the eccentric contraction is so strong your hamstring can't stop it, it's gonna snap. All right, so you have to train that when you're in the weight room. You have to train that when you're in pre-rehab or you're in, when you're being proactive with your injury. Best way, hands down, the best way to train that, funny enough, is a very simple exercise that doesn't require a lot of weight. You see a lot of people doing like Nordic hamstring curls, or they may be doing hamstring curls on a machine. My hands down, I've tore my hamstring probably like 3 or 4 times throughout I've been running since I was like 7. I've been running for maybe 19 years. I've torn my hamstring 3 times, and each time I was able to bounce right back. All right, sorry about that, guys. So the number one exercise that will help you, in my experience, because I've torn my hamstring a couple times and I've been able to come back in PR in that same season with no problems, it was RDLs. RDLs are called Romanian deadlifts. So basically, it's like a straight leg or partially straight leg deadlift. All right, and you don't want to take a lot of you don't want to have it really, really heavy. Me personally, I like to start out with 225s on each side, which is like 95 pounds, and then work my way up to like 135, which is 245s on each side. The number one goal is when you're doing RDLs is not to do them fast. Okay? You don't want to do them fast. You want to do it slow going down, and then you want to explode through your hips coming up. All right? Slow going down, explode through your hips coming up. So that's why I say it's not about how much weight you can lift. It's about controlling that weight, because you're trying to build up the muscle fibers in your hamstring so that they're less sensitive to pulling. And one thing that really helps with that is eccentric lifting. If you go to google.com or go to YouTube and type in eccentric strength training, it's going to show you a lot of lifting exercises that have to do with slow, very slow a pace for lifting. You know, me personally, I like to do a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then explode up in 1 second. All right? Major thing that's important when you're doing RDLs is to maintain your form and to use your hips. Make sure you have a straight lower back. Don't curve your back. You want to have a nice, straight lumbar curve in your back. All right? Do not round your back. Have a nice straight back when you're going down. And when you go down, you go slow. Make sure the weight doesn't hit the floor, then you explode back up. All right? This being your back. As you see, I'm going down and then further up, okay? So, if you're not doing this exercise, maybe that's why it's not, the injury keeps coming back. You really, really, really want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a proper position so that when it's time to go back on the track, you're going to be right prepared to do that. All right? So I hope these tips can help. I hope, these tips can help someone, reach their goals this year, coming back from an injury. And, my number one tip is just to stay focused and find ways to really just do what you can control. If you can't control your lifestyle, maybe you can control drinking more water. If you can't control drinking more water, and you don't have access to water, which is crazy, have fruit. Fruit has water in it. Vegetables has water in it. Always find ways to put yourself in the best position to win. If you're at school and it's hard to eat, as often as you need, bring carrots. Wrap carrots in aluminum foil and bring it to you to school. Or if you're working and you have to wake up early, go to sleep. Go to sleep at 8 p.m. so that you can get the recommended hours in order for yourself to recover, because at the end of the day, if you want to be successful and reach your goals, these are going to be the strides that you're going to have to do, all right? So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope that you stay one-track minded. Peace.